Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk as we experience this unique week among all our unique weeks of Yom Hazikaron, Yom Haatzmaut, and the Sedras. As we go towards Shabbat, we go towards the Sedras of Acharei and Kedoshim. And these Sedras, this week, are so particularly relevant and in the land of Israel more than anywhere else in the world. We feel different elements of the messages of these sedras. When we have Yom HaZikaron on the 4th of Iyar, which was Tuesday, yesterday of this week, and we honor and remember those heroes, those Kedoshim, those righteous people who gave their lives, Masar et Nafsham, for the benefit, for the safety, for the protection of the people of Israel and the land of Israel. And this is revered as countrywide. There are so many ceremonies, so many prayers, so many people remembered from years ago, from the 1948, from 1967, 1973. The time doesn't dull their shining contribution and their eternal place in the pantheon of our great people. And then as we move towards Yom Haatzmaut, the celebration of the fact that for so many reasons, though, the divine grace and the efforts of these wonderful people, we are in a position where we have a Jewish sovereign state in the Holy Land of Israel that we read about in the Torah. This is the ground that we walk on here, the air that we breathe, and it is such a privilege and something that makes us so very grateful. And I think that when we look at the events of the week and the messages of the Sedra, we can really we live that reality. And on the one hand, the pain and the extent of the number of people who have given their lives for this cause. Yet on the other hand, we don't want to be demoralized by it. We want to be inspired and uplifted. And I think that this is the message of the Torah. The message of the Torah, when it talks about Acharei and we talk about the passing, the Torah is referring to the passing of the sons of Aaron that we read about in the Sedra of Shemini a few weeks ago. And this is, we are wanting to be able to cope with that, to be able to still find value in life and not sink into despair. And the Torah gives us this wonderful recipe, this wonderful toolkit, which is the Sedra of Kedoshim. And when we read these two Sedras together, we can feel that absolute progress, that process. And the Sedra of Kedoshim contains 51 mitzvahs. It contains 21 mitzvahs lo sa'aseh, prohibitions, and 13 mitzvahs aseh, 13 mitzvahs performative, requiring us to do an action. And these mitzvahs span so much of daily life, so much of, in inverted commas, ordinary activities. When we think about Kedoshim, on the one hand, we've had the experience of brave heroes who have given, the ultimate sacrifice. Yet, actually, when we talk about Kedoshim and look at the minutiae, helping us get back into life, get back into a meaningful life, then we are given the very practical details of daily life, how we treat our employees, how we treat our parents, how we speak about people, how we relate to people in general. All of these are essential components of holiness, and especially when one is feeling in a low place and perhaps one doesn't know where to turn, what to do. The very fact that we have this precise framework that we can work within, and we are also, as we look through this incredible range of mitzvahs, aseh and lo aseh, we can also see that we are given the opportunity to lift ourselves up in a subtle way, but in a very uplifting way. And this is the blessing, and being able to do it in the land of Israel is such a unique privilege. And in a very interesting interview by his daughter, Natan Sharansky, was in this week of Yom Haatzmaut and Yom Hazikaron, was interviewed by his daughter, Rachel Sharansky Danziger, and in her community in the last last few years, they have lost many people in their that they know, and it's a very difficult time, very challenging time for everybody. And Natan Sharansky was trying, I believe, to help his daughter take a slightly different perspective. And he was saying that he remembers the most meaningful Yom HaZikaron that he experienced was in Christopol prison in the Ural Mountains near Siberia. And when he was a prisoner of Zion, it was 1981. And he endured the terribly harsh conditions in prison. And his story is recorded in a book, autobiography, Fear No Evil. And he says that on the day of Yom HaZikaron, he was in a cell by himself next to Yosef Mendelovich, another prisoner of Zion. And through Morse code, they realized that there was that it was Yom HaZikaron, and they managed to have a conversation. What was the best way for them to have a conversation without getting caught by the guards? To know when the guards were a few minutes away checking other cells along the corridor, and they had some basic latrine in their cell, and they removed the water from there and stuck their heads in the hole. This sounds so grotesque, and like that they were able, through the pipe work, to have the best klita, the best reception, and to talk in an uplifting and meaningful way about the blessing of the land of Israel, and the hope of being able to come out of their current situation, where it would have been so natural for them to be completely submerged in despair, and never imagined that they would actually come out of this situation, come out alive and be able to go to the land of Israel. And both of them managed just that. And I think that this message of hope, this is really the prevailing message of Yom HaZikaron, Yom Haatzmaut, and Acharei and Kedoshim. All of these events, these sedras, are giving us hope, giving us coping tools, that this is a process. We are a people. We read in the Sedra of Bereshis that how we get our name Yisrael. And this is how Natan Sharansky actually is speaking to his daughter. And he says, our life is meaningful because we are always in the center of some historical struggle. And sometimes, if you listen to that in a voice of despair, it can make you feel tired, like to always be in the center of some historical struggle. But to listen to Natan Sharansky with his life story, with his message of survival, and understanding that the struggle doesn't defeat us. The struggle is what makes us what we are. And when we look back at the Sedra of Vayishlach in Bereshis, this is actually how we get our name. And it is chapter 32, Pasuk 29. Vayomer lo Yaakov yeomer od shimcha. Your name Yaakov is no longer going to be how you will be referred to. Ki im Yisrael. But, and actually, ki im, if we're very literal with the translation, it's but with Yisrael, and sorry, actually, it's with an aleph, but it's there's this idea that Yaakov and Yisrael are going to coexist because we refer to Yaakov as Yisrael as and in both ways. So it's not a name we don't lose the name Yaakov altogether, but ki im Yisrael, but Yisrael ki sorisa im Elohim ve'im anoshim vatuchal, because you struggled with God and with people and you prevailed. And I think that we're looking at our history, we're looking at our ancient history, recently emerging from the festival of Pesach, and we're looking at our more recent history of the 70 years ago, 80 years ago, the catastrophe of the Holocaust in Europe, and then the establishment of a sovereign Jewish state in the land of Israel in 1948. And this struggle is bringing out the qualities, and we look at what's been happening over the past 2.5 years, how the younger generation have stepped up and shown such dedication and heroism. And this is something that we can hear calling out to us from the words of the Sedras that we read, from the events of our history that we commemorate, and from being a living people of the Torah in the land of Israel. And please God, we should all merit to be here together and witness the complete redemption with the coming of Moshiach. Thank you so much for listening. Wishing everybody Yom Haatzmaut, chag sameach, and Shabbat Shalom.